What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews. We've got one of the biggest NBA slates that I've seen for quite some time. I've got one bet that I'm going to give you that's going to change everything that you do for the rest of the day. But I've also got 4 different bets that I'm willing to share with you that I've already put down. I've got insights and analysis and all that good stuff. Now, if that sounds interesting, let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.
Before we jump into today's picks, got to recap the video that we just did. I shared 3 picks with you guys in the last video. RJ Barrett, Heath pulled out with an illness. So then we went one-on-one with the 2 bets. We had Domantas Sabonis, who lost. We had DeJounte Murray, who absolutely killed it. But had a lot of bets down for VIP. We did finish 7.16 units up. We were profitable on NBA, college basketball, and on the NFL. 4 losing bets on the day when we're talking straighties. But man, so many winners. So let's talk about it. I apologize. This might be long-winded, but we do this when we lose. We do this when we win. Talking about the losers first, Domantas Sabonis over his points and assists. This looked good at halftime. He was aggressive as hell, which I loved, but he missed so many layups. 8 from 22 from the field. The Pacers eventually blow out the Kings. I didn't see that coming. I feel like that was a good read. I felt a bit unlucky that they didn't cash. How often do you shoot 8 from 22 when 90% of your shots are layups? So I felt a bit unlucky with that one, but a loss is a loss. I also had this for VIP. I spoke about it on the last video, actually. Jabari Smith over 1.5 3-pointers made. He did make one early in the game, and he normally does, but he didn't take many attempts after that. I felt that was a bad bet. And the reason why I think it was a bad bet, I was overly influenced by just hit rate and recent form, which is a silly thing to do. Jamal Murray over 5.5 assists. Found this on the last video with you guys when he did the hit rate section. I saw high volume of potential assists very early in that game, in that first quarter. Specifically, Christian Braun blows a layup. Nikola Jokic blows a layup. The Nuggets were just blowing everything. And then Jamal Murray just moved away from being a facilitator, looking to get buckets on his own. I honestly didn't hate the bet. I just hate the way that it worked out. But I thought it was a pretty good read despite it losing. And on the NFL, we had one bet that lost, was Jacoby Myers over 5.5 receptions. He had 2 in the first half. I only saw 1 target in the whole second. Raiders looking to protect their lead. I think it was a bad bet. And the reason why I'm saying that's a bad bet, I'm not good at receiving props, full stop. I don't know why I keep betting them. Kill it on rushing yards, anytime touchdowns. But let's talk about some of the winners on the day. On the NBA, we only had a 3-game slate, so I was surprised to get this many winners out. But DeJounte Murray over his assist prop, 7.5. What did he finish on? 13, 14, 15 perhaps? He killed it. Trey Murphy over 18.5 points. He gets injured in the third quarter of that game. Still cashes this one of 21. Aaron Gordon over 21.5 PRA. That was pretty sweat-free. I dropped the Ochai Agbaji bets when RJ Barrett was announced out. Over 10.5 points, cash that. On value plays, Agbaji, we had him at 15 plus points at plus 240. We had 2 value plays in DeJounte Murray, which cashed as well. On college basketball, we had Sheldon Edwards with 10.5 points, and we also took him for 15 points. And then in the NFL, A-Chain touchdown, Saquon Barkley rushing yards, James Conner rushing yards, JSN over his receiving yards, and Jahmyr Gibbs over his rushing yards. Honestly, it was a great day of betting. I was surprised to make that many units profit with only 3 NBA games on. Recapping the month of December, sitting on 55.8 units profit and 18.5% ROI. Now, there's no guarantees when it comes to sports betting. This is a game designed to take our money. We're not meant to be winning in this space, but we're crushing it right now. And look, to celebrate this and what's happening in VIP at the moment, I've got a 50% discount code for you. So use the code Murray when you sign up to VIP. He had 40 points, rebounds, and assists today. So I've limited this to the first 40 redemptions. And you can check the link out in the video description below. Here's what I sent out to the guys. 21 bets, 7.1 units profit. These are the different categories: NBA, college basketball, and NFL. Killing it. Here's some of the value plays. Agbaji, 15 points, 15 to 170. DeJounte Murray, 10 assists, over 5.5 rebounds, $25 in a 162. DeJounte Murray again, over his assist prop, 5 plus rebounds, under 25.5 points, $50 into 170. And then here's Sheldon Edwards, 15 points, $50 into 150. So we're pretty light on the value player side of things. Not too many options available. A lot more options today, but we'll talk about that in a second. But if you're interested in trialing out VIP, like, my strategy of betting isn't for everybody. So I do encourage you guys to trial it out. Got a new giveaway for you. We're calling it the BETR and BOOM Giveaway. Firstly, with BETR, they've got discounted lines every single day up until Christmas. With Boom, they've increased their spin payout to a minimum of 3x and a maximum of 1,000x for any two-man entry. So if you sign up to either one of those apps using my codes or the links below, deposit $10, take a screenshot and email it to me. I'll get you into the giveaway. If you sign up to both, you get 2 entries into the draw and you double your chances to win. Once we hit 50 referrals on with these two combined, I'll give away $100 to 3 people. Now, enough about that. Let's talk about these bets, shall we? Let's go. So we're jumping into props madness, and this is the best tool you're going to find for NBA player props. Even the big dog, Austin from Calling Our Shot, shared his video yesterday of him using props madness. He took you behind the scenes. I told you all the big guys in this space are using it. They're probably just not telling you. And I encourage you guys to check it out. 7-day free trial in the video description below. Use the code DAFT when you sign up and you'll get 25% off. Now, before we get to the 4 picks that I wanted to share with you all today, I wanted to let you know about the most important thing you need to be thinking about today. Now, most people, myself included, were super excited about today. There's like 14 games on. There must be tons of opportunities. It's going to be a wild day of betting. I've done my preview. I've looked through every single game. And my honest opinion is the best thing you could do today is to take it easy. So many of these games have so much blowout potential. Like if you think about the recaps I do every single day when I talk about good bet or bad bet, a lot of the times if it's a bad bet, I fail to factor in that there's going to be a blowout here. And when blowouts occur, it impacts both teams, the winning team, the losing team, because a lot of the key players don't play minutes. Unless you're crazy and you bet a lot of unders, you should think twice about putting down a lot of the bets you're probably thinking of. So I encourage you guys to just pull it back a little, relax. A lot of the things I've looked at where there's great matchups, great form, if there's a blowout, a lot of these bets aren't going to cash. And I think there's at least half the games here where I could see a 15 to 20 point margin. The blowout's going to impact a lot of players. So the best bet I can give you, it's not even a bet, it's the best tip I can give you, is to just settle it down, factor in the blowout into every single bet that you make. Don't blindly just look at the numbers and think it's going to replicate itself. Let's get into the bets that I do have for you, though. It's hard to escape a game with a blowout, but if you factor that into your equation, then you're going to be okay. The first game I want to look through is the Boston Celtics versus the Orlando Magic. And I'm looking at probably one of my top 3 least favorite players in the league right now, but I'm running it back with Jason Tatum. Now, don't fire comments away in the comment section about me being a hater and stuff. I respect the guy's game. I just don't like it. But Jason Tatum's an absolute animal. We bet on him in that last game against the Bulls. Easy money. And I'm betting on him again against the Orlando Magic. We're taking Jason Tatum over 25.5 points. Now, the 25.5, it is a low line for someone like Jason Tatum, averaging almost 29 points per game this season. But I also understand why it's so low. The Magic, they play super slow. They've got a pretty good defensive unit out there as well, but I do like this bet for a few reasons. The first thing, the Magic, very good defensively at a lot of things, but there's a couple of things they're not very good at. And one, that's allowing points in isolation and letting people score on pick and roll situations, especially the ball handlers. Now, for Jason Tatum, it just happens to be the only player on this roster where those two play types are his most dominant ones, scoring 21% of his points in isolation, 19% of his points as the pick and roll ball handler. This Orlando Magic team, pretty weak at those, good at everything else. So the matchup is great. The other thing is the other scorers on this Boston Celtics team. I'm talking Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, Derek White especially. They've all got terrible matchups to score some points in this one. This Magic team is good at limiting points in transition, so that might be difficult for Jaylen Brown. They're very good at limiting spot-up shooting, so your Peyton Pritchard, your Derek White, they might find it a little bit difficult. Kristaps Porzingis, his matchup's not too bad, but Porzingis always scores between 16 and 20 points. I don't see that being a massive impact here for Jason Tatum. Whereas Jason Tatum, he's got a pretty good advantage in terms of his matchup. Orlando going to let him work one-on-one, make him beat them on his own. The other thing I do like about this play is this game's being played in Orlando. Boston Celtics are on the road. And when I was playing around with the splits, I noticed this. At home, Jason Tatum averages 26.2 points per game. On the road this season, 31.5 points per game. He's covered this line in 11 out of 13 games on the road. Funnily enough, the only team he's gone under against is the Washington Wizards. 2 games in Washington, and he's happened to go under. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't Jason Tatum from Washington? I may have made that up, but they're the only games that he struggled in. So he plays well on the road, scores a lot better. His matchup is better than anyone else in the Celtics. Yes, there could be a blowout here. It's a 10-point spread. Jalen Suggs is a game time decision as well. If he's out, probably makes life a little bit more difficult for for Orlando. But the Boston Celtics, they're no strangers to playing with their food a little bit. So are they going to have that killer instinct and blow them out straight out of the gate? That I do not know. I am hoping that this Orlando Magic team stay gritty. They keep this game close enough for Jason Tatum to get his minutes, because if he gets his minutes, he's going to get his points for sure. So Jason Tatum is the very first player that I do like, and I wanted to share with y'all. The next one, we're heading into the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Chicago Bulls. And in this particular game, we're looking at Nikola Vucevic. Now, on this particular game, probably won't be a blowout, thankfully. 1.5 point spread. I think this would be a great game to bet on, because a lot of these guys should play the minutes they're expected to. But 1.5 point line. What am I looking at here for Nikola Vucevic? He's been a wagon when it comes to scoring the ball. Very consistent. But I need more than just consistency. I need to know about matchups, rotations, potential minutes, stuff like that. But Nikola Vucevic, I'm going with his 3-pointers made today. Now, he hasn't been as consistent hitting this. 70% hit rate on the season compared to his points, which is at 78%. But that number means nothing to me, because once we break down the data using props madness, we're able to find a decent edge here. Now, what I did here with Nikola Vucevic, I mucked around with a couple of filters. So the first thing I always look at when I'm looking at 3-point props, look to see how many 3-point attempts does the other team allow. And this Milwaukee Bucks team, they allow the 10th most 3-point attempts in the league. So what I've done is I've removed the top 10 teams in 3-point attempts allowed from the equation. Suddenly, we get a smaller sample size. Now, 11 out of 15 teams, he's hit this in 11 out of 15 of those teams. The next thing I like to look at is his shot zone. So Nikola Vucevic, despite being a center, his favorite shot zone is above the break. 32% of his points come from above the break. The Milwaukee Bucks, where are they? Bottom 15 or 14 in terms of points allowed above the break. So running the same filters, we remove the top 10 teams at defending above the break, leaving him with softer matchups. And suddenly, Nikola Vucevic in similar types of matchups has covered this line in 9 out of 11 games, averaging 2.5 3-pointers made. Included in that is 2 games against the Bucks this season. The first game, he had 4 3-pointers made. The following game, he had 2 3-pointers made. What I love about these games against the Milwaukee Bucks, because the Bucks, they actually defend the inside the paint half decently. You can see it. 5th fewest points in the restricted area, 10th fewest points in the non-restricted area in the paint. 2nd fewest points in the paint allowed, the Milwaukee Bucks. But what that does mean is they give up quite a few points on the perimeter. So Nikola Vucevic takes advantage of this type of matchup and takes a lot more 3-pointers. Looking at his season data, he's averaging 2.2 3-pointers made and only 4.7 attempts. So he's shooting at a pretty good, that's not a season, sorry, that's the last 10 games. He's shooting a pretty good percentage though. But when he versus the Milwaukee Bucks, these numbers seem to soar. In the first game, he had 9 attempts against the Milwaukee Bucks. He made 4 of those suckers. Then in the following game, he didn't shoot very well, but he took 7 attempts. He was 2 from 7, 29% from downtown. So the volume there is fantastic. All I'm really looking for here is to replicate that volume. I think if Nikola Vucevic takes 5 3-point attempts here, whether it wins or loses, I'd be happy with this bet, because at least the read was right. If Nikola Vucevic takes 5 attempts, I'm sure he's good enough to hit 2 of those. If he takes even more, even better. But the main thing I'm looking out for is minutes, quality of the shots, but overall just the number of attempts is what I want to see from Nikola Vucevic. So take him over 1.5 3-pointers made. Pumping the brakes real quick to ask you guys to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm pretty sure we're probably at 19,000 subscribers by the time you watch this, but the goal is to get to 20,000 subscribers. We've got, 7 more days until the year is done. It would be amazing if we can get to 20,000 subscribers before the year is done. If we do, heck, I'll do another giveaway. So subscribe to the channel, because your boy's getting busy, coming to you live from the west side of Sydney. Let's go. For my third bet, we're heading into the Washington Wizards versus the Oklahoma City Thunder today, and the spread in this one is huge. What are we looking at? Minus 18 points. OKC expected to slap the Wizards out of Washington. And what are we looking at here? With a game with so many potential blowouts, I had to find an under. So I'm looking at Jordan Poole's under today. Looking to take him under 25.5 points and assists. And it seems like a crazy play. He's been playing well as of late. He's gone over this in 3 straight games. 28 against Boston, 31 against Charlotte, 29 against the Milwaukee Bucks. But he's about to run into a buzzsaw in OKC. Now, the one thing about Jordan Poole, he scores a ton of his points in the pick and roll, also scores them in transition. You can see it right here. The Oklahoma City Thunder allow the second fewest points in both of those play types. So safe to say this matchup is going to be difficult as hell. If you look at his recent matchups, Boston, Charlotte, Milwaukee, all sitting in the bottom 10 in terms of points allowed in that pick and roll. So those matchups were tailor-made for Jordan Poole. This one against OKC doesn't get much harder than that. So what we can do is we can remove just the bottom 10 teams in terms of how they defend the pick and roll. So we're looking at the top 20 teams who defend pick and roll coverage, right? And how Jordan Poole's played against them. And already by just changing that sole filter, he's gone over this in 3 out of 12 games. Now, if we also factor in defensive rating, this Oklahoma City Thunder team has the best defensive rating this season. If we just look at the top 10 teams in defensive rating who are also good at defending the pick and roll, you can see here Jordan Poole, he's only hit this number in 1 out of 8 games. We're talking teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Clippers, and now OKC. So it doesn't get much tougher than that. In these difficult matchups, Jordan Poole has struggled 17.1 points and assists an average. So the matchup is awful, plus 18-point spread. If Jordan Poole and the Wizards are going to get blown out here, I find it extremely difficult for him to get this 25.5 point plus assists. So that's my third play. My very last play, this might be a popular one, wasn't very difficult for me to find, and I'm sure others probably pushing up the same type of bet, but we got to go with it. And we're looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks picked up their defense throughout the Cup games finish, and they're pretty ass again. So we're looking at Anthony Edwards today. I think he eats this Atlanta Hawks team alive, but the bet that I'm taking is on his threes made. Check this out. We're looking at over 3.5 three-pointers made. He's hit this in 19 out of 27 games this season, averaging 4.3 three-pointers made per game. Now, the reason why I like this bet so much for Anthony Edwards, when we look at this matchup here against the Atlanta Hawks, it is crazy good for him. One, the Atlanta Hawks allow the most three-point attempts in the league. They allow the most points to above the break three-pointers. They also allow the second most points to pick and roll ball handlers, and all three things just point to Anthony Edwards eating these guys alive. Now, you can play with Props Madness to get a better sample size of data here. Firstly, if we just look at three-point attempts allowed, if we look at Anthony Edwards and how he's played against the bottom 15 teams that give up three-pointers, you can see that he's over this line in 12 out of 13 games, averaging 4.7 three-pointers made. This is just absolutely insane. He will, however, one thing you need to keep in mind, he will have the Great Barrier Thief all over him. Dyson Daniels, most likely to pick that matchup. But I think if anything, it supports Anthony Edwards shooting more three-pointers. I've played basketball, not at a professional level for sure, but I've played at a pretty high level. I've played some very good defenders in my time. And when you've got good defenders on you, it's exhausting and difficult to drive every single time. You do resort to more three-point attempts. And I think having a great defender like Dyson Daniels defending Anthony Edwards, it only supports his play a little bit better. So let's talk about line movement for a second. I think this play is going to be that popular that the line probably moves to 4.5 by the time some of you guys are watching it. The question I'm probably going to get is, should I take it? Now, you should take 4.5 if that's the only thing available, provided it's at plus money. So if you're getting 4.5, but it's at minus 110, I wouldn't go there at all. I think you're being ripped off. But if you get it at plus 10, plus 120, then I think it's a good look. Anthony Edwards, great matchup, high volume, excellent hit rate. I absolutely love that play. So they're the 4 bets that I've got so far, but don't go anywhere. Now I'm a little bit late, a little bit behind my normal uploading schedule. 14 games is massive. It's also close to Christmas time. A lot of events, a lot of things happening at the moment. So don't have as much time as I normally would. I'm not going to take you through the best hit rates on the day because for 14 games, I think that shit's going to be crazy. But let's just talk about some of the key players, some potential traps that you're going to see out there on the day. I'll give you my insights. I'm not telling you that these are going to happen, but this is just where my thoughts are, right? I want to give you guys as much value as possible. And to remind you, leave me a comment down below in the comment section. Get the algorithm working for me, not against me, so we can get this video out to more people. Now let's go. All right, so one thing we're probably going to see is something on Jaylen Brown assists. I saw quite a few people pushing out Jaylen Brown 3.5 assists. Now, for someone, if anyone's pushing out Jaylen Brown 3.5 assists, I'd probably just remove them from somebody that you get bets from, because when that line was released, it was juiced the minute it opened. That line was always going to move to 4.5. If someone's telling you to get on 3.5 while you can, I think it's going to be impossible for you to get there. But people are betting on the 3.5 because of the hit rate and nothing else. I've seen some of the videos, I've seen some of the analysis, and it's all been about he's hit this in 19 out of 23 games, yada, yada, yada. But he's also got one of the toughest matchups he's going to see when it comes to getting assists. This Orlando Magic team, second fewest assists in the league behind the Houston Rockets. And if you just looked at how he's performed in the past against these difficult matchups, we can see in a lot of these difficult matchups, his ceiling is 4. He's finishing on 4 a lot, which means you're not getting that much of an edge. He's going to finish on 3 or he's going to finish on 4. It's almost a 50-50 bet, but people are talking about it as if there's a 90% chance this has happened purely because it has happened so many times before, but they're not factoring into the matchup. So even though Jaylen Brown at 3.5 is at ridiculous odds at the moment, don't bet the 3.5 if it is, because the odds for it are disgusting. You're going to get ripped off. And if you want to bet the 4.5, suddenly you're looking at a different graph here. Only a 43% hit rate, and he's got a difficult as hell matchup. If anything, an under 4.5 is more likely, but the books have priced it to say that it's more likely that he goes under 4.5. So the books are even saying that he's going to finish on 4 assists. So I just think that's a little bit of a risky one, and it might be a popular bet that you see floating around. What do we have? Jazz versus the Cavs. Now, I think a lot of people, me included, I wanted to bet something against Utah. One, because they don't play defense. The concern here that I haven't seen too many people talk about is a blowout. So if we look at Donovan Mitchell, for example, this Utah team gives up a ton of points, above the break 3-pointers, all that type of stuff. Now, Donovan Mitchell's line's only at 24.5, and he's got an easy as hell matchup today. But the spread in this is 14 points. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, when they pump hard. Like, just think about what they did to Milwaukee a couple of days ago. Absolutely gave it to them. How much did they win by? 23 points. Then they beat Philly by 27 points. Right? So a lot of these star players ain't getting the minutes you think they're going to get. Like Donovan Mitchell, 27 minutes against Milwaukee, 28 minutes against the Philadelphia 76ers. So if you're someone who thought about betting on Donovan Mitchell because the matchup's nice, what if there's a blowout, which there most likely will be, and Donovan Mitchell plays a max of 28 minutes? What hit rate are you looking at now? So Donovan Mitchell, when he plays less than 28 minutes, he's hit this line in 1 out of 7 games. Right? Now, I'm not saying he goes under. What I'm saying is if you factor in the blowout, how many minutes people play when there's a blowout, what's the actual hit rate against the number? It's not great. And this is how a lot of people lose money. So Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, I think all of these guys, they fit under the same umbrella of if there's a blowout, it's going to be very difficult for them to hit their lines. But if there's not a blowout, then you're going to look like the best bettor in the world if you nail these things. What I'm saying is I think there could be, so I'm just not betting it. That's what I'm saying. Let's see what else we can find. We got the Rockets versus the Hornets. LaMelo Ball. Now, his over could be an interesting one. I know that because I looked into this. And LaMelo Ball won't have Brandon Miller today. These are his games without Brandon Miller. 34, 27, 19, 31, 34. Only 3 out of 5 hit rate, right? But if you want to get smart with it, he's taken 20-plus shots in every single game without Brandon Miller. So you might want to look at all of his games this season where he's taken more than 20 field goal attempts. And in those games, he's hit this line in 13 out of 17 games. And the 20 field goals attempts, that was us being conservative. He probably takes a lot more than that. But what's interesting about this is when I looked a little bit further in it, 30.5 is only available in a couple of books. Most likely, if you're like me, you might have to settle for a 31.5. And when you do that, suddenly hit rate drops down from whatever it was. Well, where were we at? Down from 76% to 58.8%. And this is just with 1 point, one movement, which is why a lot of these line movement things are killing a lot of people out there. So even though LaMelo Ball probably throws up a ton of shots today, I wasn't willing enough to get on it. Just knowing the chances of me winning drop dramatically because I've moved from 31.5 from 30.5 was enough to scare me off. Even though I could get a 30.5, if I did bet this and share it with everybody, chances are that no one can get a 30.5. And then if you get stung and I win, those type of things suck. So there's a bit of that. Spurs versus 76ers. Now, this one, I think a lot of people are going to bet on is Joel Embiid versus San Antonio Spurs. Now, you got to be some crazy asshole to bet on Joel Embiid because I'm not willing to do it. My man just keeps finding ways to get injured. Like, this is the African French version of Anthony Davis right now. Like, he's made of the cheapest glass that you can find because he just keeps finding ways. Like, what did he miss in the last game? Allergies or something to do with his sinus? Like, it's just insane. Can you really bank on Joel Embiid playing his full set of minutes right now? And if you can't, why would you bet on him? Now, people are looking at his matchup, the pick and roll. The Spurs aren't great at defending the pick and roll, and Embiid could eat. They're looking at last season's data. Last season, Joel Embiid scored 70 points against the San Antonio Spurs. Like, Joel Embiid last season is so much better than what he is today. Victor Wembanyama today is so much better than what he was last season. I don't understand how you can make your bets that way. So Joel Embiid, yeah, if you're looking at last season's data, sure, go for it. But this season, he's only hit this line in 3 out of 7 games. He's only averaging 22 points per game. His line's at 29.3, 29.5, sorry. I just think it's really risky to bet on someone who's coming back from injury, who's already had multiple injuries this season. I just think there are other bets out there. Just my thoughts. I might be real conservative. I might be a bit of a bitch, but who knows? The next ones, what could be a popular look today in this Timberwolves versus the Hawks game? And I'm starting to think, what if it's something to do with Jalen Johnson? Probably not, actually, because he started to cool off a little bit. All the hit rate bettors have jumped off Jalen Johnson, so that might not be the wave. Yeah, there's probably nothing that's going to come out as too obvious in that one. We then have the Nets and the Heat. You got to be out of your mind to bet on this one. I just hate betting on the Miami Heat. I just feel like there's no value in this game. It does have some blowout potential. The Heat aren't fun to bet on. The Nets suck right now. I'd only bet on the Nets if they had a good matchup. So there's nothing in that excites me. We got the Raptors versus the Knicks. We got to go to Cat when we talk about hit rates. So for Karl Anthony Towns, there could be a lot of people betting his rebounds, but his line's at 14.5. So I think that line's probably enough to scare a lot of people. He's only averaging 14 boards per game this season. And he only had 15 rebounds the last time. I say only, but 15 rebounds the last time he played the Raptors. And now that's where they've set the line. So I think that's probably not going to be a popular play given how high the line is. Something that could make the list is this, Mikal Bridges. His points line, we bet it in the last game. It was a hit rate play, but the matchup was fantastic for it. So I took it and then it cashed. But Mikal Bridges up against the Raptors today, his matchup's not too bad, believe it or not. He did score 23 points against them last time. The odds for 16.5 are pretty, they're not too bad. They've actually come down. This was at 17.5 when I looked at it last time. 16.5 might have my attention. Not going to lie to you guys, but his matchup's all right. Spot up shooter, scoring in the restricted area. This Raptors team obviously not great defensively. So I don't hate this play, to be honest. Mikal Bridges over 16.5 could run it back. The matchup, though, isn't as good as the last one he just played against the Pelicans, where he just cleared this line, right? It wasn't an easy cash. I think it's going to be sweaty loss, sweaty win if you take Mikal Bridges. That's all I'm going to say. Last time against the Raptors, he played 41 minutes. Super efficient, 5 from 8 from downtown, which is it's an outlier. You can't expect him to do that again. So I'd not even consider that. I think he falls between the 16 and 20 points, which means he gets real sweaty, real close. But yeah, that's one with a good hit rate. What else could be on the board today as a popular pick? There could be some bets on. There's probably nothing in this game, to be honest. Bucks versus the Bulls. Although there should be, there probably isn't. Then we've got this Clippers versus the Grizzlies game. What stands out to me? I actually got some notifications on. So when I talk about popular bets, I get a lot of people send me messages and emails every day saying, hey, I heard everybody's talking about this, or I saw a lot of people are betting this. What are your thoughts? And a lot of people are betting on James Harden to go under 23.5 points today. I get it. The hit rate's great. You can see it right here. He's only gone over in 7 out of 27 games. So we're looking at a 74% of the time he's gone under this line. So naturally, a lot of people are going to bet on it. Now, let's talk about the matchup that he's got here with the Memphis Grizzlies. Firstly, when it comes to him scoring in isolation, it's difficult. The Grizzlies, 4th fewest points in isolation, but they give it the 3rd most points in free throws. They give the 13th most points to pick and roll ball handlers. They give up points in transition as well. And where they actually give up a lot of points is right here. This shot chart that shows us 53% of James Harden's points come from above the break. This Memphis Grizzlies team allows the 4th most points in that area. So I'm not saying he goes over here, but I think to say that this is a lock because of his hit rate or Memphis's defensive rating or whatever it is, I think you're missing a few valuable key points here. Like there are parts of his matchup where are actually quite easy. Memphis are going to sell that 3-point line. They're going to try to stop everything they can in the corners because that's high. That's got a higher percentage of hitting. They limit the corners. They try to minimize the paint, and they give up points above the break. And that's where James Harden lives. So, and if James Harden gets hot, and if James Harden gets to the free throw line, there's a chance he gets close to this. So when I get those questions like, why would they set the line so high for this? It's like, well, it's got nothing to do with his hit rate. It's about a future prediction of where they think he's going to land. So I think there's some risk in betting under in James Harden purely because of those reasons. Chances are he goes under again, but I'm just saying, like, if I take that bet and then it loses, I'd have to come out here and tell you guys, man, that was such a bad bet. That was a bad bet. James Harden went over, and I took the bet knowing that the Grizzlies give up so many points above the break, knowing that he scores more than just in isolation. Like, I couldn't do it to myself. So I think James Harden, that's probably going to be a popular pick of the day. Then we've got the Wizards and the Thunder. We've got to talk about Isaiah Hartenstein points and rebounds here. So this is a wagon. I've bet this many times before. He's gone over in 10 out of 13 games, averaging 25.5 points and rebounds. So he only got an edge of about 2 based on his averages. Now, why did I not bet Isaiah Hartenstein today? And it's purely because of the blowout factor. 18-point spread. I got burnt by Isaiah Hartenstein once in a blowout when they played Utah. They won that game by 27 points. Isaiah Hartenstein only played 22 minutes in that game. Didn't get close. He had 4 points and 5 rebounds in a blowout. Looking at all the other games, we had a blowout here against the Raptors. They won by 37. He only played 28 minutes, scored 2 points, had 16 rebounds. And then the rest of the games, they won by double digits, but they weren't necessarily blowouts. They were less than the 18-point spread. So the reason why I didn't bet Isaiah Hartenstein here is that this has massive blowout risk. If it's a game where they win by more than 20 and Isaiah Hartenstein plays 25 minutes or less, then it's going to be very difficult for him to hit this number. So there's a little bit of a warning on that one. Then we got the Blazers and the Mavs. Luke is a game time decision. So that's one thing that I haven't taken a real deep hard look at yet because I don't know if he's going to play. If he does play, then this looks like a good look. His rebounds plus assists, but then we don't know if he's going to be on some sort of restriction. They normally don't restrict Luka in minutes. If he plays, he normally plays the full set that he normally would. But the hit rate on this is fantastic. Did have 20 rebounds and assists the last time he played the Portland Trailblazers. So I think this is not a warning. This is a more, let's wait and see if Luka plays. The spread is 10 points here. Luka gets a lot of his stuff done early. And even in blowouts, Lucas tends to play a lot of minutes anyway. Like, if they win by 36 points, he'll still play 32 minutes. They won by 40-something points, he still played 30 minutes. Like, Luka's still going to see a lot of game time. So he's not blowout proof, but can still get his buckets in a blowout. We got the Suns versus the Nuggets. What could the popular looks be in this one? I'm not too sure. I haven't seen too many people betting on this game, if I'm being honest with you guys. What are my thoughts? Nikola Jokic, couldn't tell you what he does. I've got no idea. I don't know what he does. I don't know. I couldn't tell you at all. Like, he makes it very difficult for me. I think someone who could be interesting is Michael Porter Jr. So he just played his worst game of the season today against New Orleans Pelicans. Shot poorly, had a lot of turnovers. Played in the third quarter, then he didn't play in the fourth quarter, didn't play in the overtime. Instead, they played with Russell Westbrook to lift their energy, which worked, won them the game. So he's someone I'd be interested to look out for because 14.5 is quite low. And either Michael Porter Jr. bounces back in this game and does what he has been doing all season and he hits this number, or they cut his minutes and it's probably a clear sign that he's on the trading block, right? So MPJ is an interesting one. I, for one, think he's going to bounce back. I do like his over. But if you're reading to that last game and you think, is this a sign of things to come? They prefer to play Westbrook over MPJ, lift the energy perhaps, then you probably want to avoid this altogether. But you haven't seen many bets on that game at all. What's funny about the MPJ thing, this was the rebound and assist game I was waiting for. So many people were betting his over and rebounds and assists just because of the hit rate. And I kept saying, like, the matchup's not good. He's going to drop the ball eventually because you've got to be betting on it for more than just a hit rate. And then it finally happened, and he didn't get close to it. Line's at 7.5, though, now, which is interesting. That's a great number to hit at. And if he does bounce back here against Phoenix, then he could clear that very easily. But we then have the Pacers versus the Warriors. I think we've got to go back with Obi Toppin, right? This is the hit rate player of the day. Now, I said in the last video that he's finally at risk of going under. Up against the Sacramento Kings, they moved his line to 11.5. I remember calling that out. And I was like, they finally moved his line. And it's also with a difficult matchup. He finishes on 11. That would have been a crazy hook. He's up against the Warriors today. It's also a difficult matchup, but they've moved the line down to 10.5. I think he probably gets close to it. But yeah, Obi Toppin in one of the worst matchups he could possibly get. I'd be happy. I'm happy to just stay away from it at the moment. Then we got the Pistons versus the Lakers, and there's so many different narratives going on here. There's Anthony Davis. He's going to have a bounce back. He's been playing poorly lately. Bounce back game against the Pistons because he scored 37 on them earlier in the season, right? But he's had that opportunities a couple times this season, and he hasn't done it. Big game against Phoenix. He's going to smash him again. Didn't. Had 25, right? Got smashed up by Denver. Then the narrative was, oh, he's up against Phoenix today. He smashed Phoenix early in the season, and he didn't. He only scored 25 in that game. Then, what else is there? There were games against Sacramento. Scored 31 points against the Sacramento Kings. He's going to get out of this funk. 21 and then 10 points in the two games against Sacramento. Up against Detroit, and he could well and truly do it, right? I'm not saying he's not going to. I just don't have as much confidence that he's going to do it in order to place the bet. So there's the Anthony Davis narrative going around. Ain't no one talking about LeBron James anymore. I don't know what's going on there. We've got Cade Cunningham, and I know popular bet on his is his rebounds, and I think it's popular because, one, his line's at 5.5, which is super low. It's juiced to the max across most books. But again, this is hit rate betting 101. A lot of people are attacking this play because the hit rate on it is fantastic. A 76% hit rate at 5.5 and a 52% hit rate at 6.5. So 6 being a very key number. I'd say 5 and 6 are key numbers here for Cade Cunningham. A lot of people smashing that 5.5, but the odds for this are disgusting. These are awful. Guaranteed to be at 6.5 by the time the game starts. And I just don't think it's a great way to bet. What are the reasons for taking Cade Cunningham over his rebounds? Because he had 11 rebounds against the Lakers earlier this season. Well, this is when he was in triple-double mode, right? He was just clapping triple-doubles on everybody. He's not doing that anymore. He's had 2 games where his rebound numbers have been down. His last game against Phoenix, he only saw 3 rebound chances. So I don't know if something's changed in their scheme. I don't know if it was very particular to that matchup. I'd be hesitant on betting on Cade Cunningham unless you can understand why things happen. Then it's easy to make a prediction on what happens next. So that's just something, those were my thoughts when I was looking over it. I get a lot of message about these popular bets. And look, if you guys want to talk through bets, your slips, thoughts, opinions, you can shoot me a message on X, Instagram, Discord, whatever it may be. Even if you email me, but I can't promise I'll get back to you before the game starts. But I'm always happy to talk to you guys, help you out, add some value where I can. But I'm going to edit this video and get it out to you all. I appreciate you if you made it this far. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to us. Let's green out, baby. Let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.